Welcome to Raffine Scheming Seer. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got Raffine's Tower, we've got Urborg, we've got Spot Removal, and we do have a flying threat in Skycat Sovereign. So yes, we will keep on this one. I like it. Could, if we wanted to be picky. If we wanted to be picky, we could complain about not having card draw, but having two pieces of removal, a flying threat, and enough mana to get down Raffine, we will take it. So, our opponent's going to lead off with a Dryad Arbor and be good to go. So, let's go and lead off with the Raffine's Tower, more than likely, and we do not run into anything else other than that. So, let's go and lead off with the Raffine's Tower, and then anything else, pass the turn over to our opponent. We're playing Raffine Scheming Seer. Flying and ward for 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. That's going to be draw and discard. We're just going to get Savala on the battlefield. What's happening? Let's go ahead and drop in Urborg. I think that'll work out. Actually, we'll drop in Island. Let's go for Infernal Grasp on Savala. Do not want to get that craziness going. So we're going to go for Infernal Grasp. We do have Urborg next turn, which will allow us to end up going for Raffine, and then hopefully we can stop Vorinclex from entering the battlefield. That sounds like a good plan. In fact, speaking of Vorinclex, we are playing against Vorinclex, Trample and Haste, and actually, we might end up going for Anguished Unmaking on Tireless Tracker, because that's going to be a lot of clue tokens, and I think I'm actually okay with that. Because if they just start cracking clue tokens with land drops, that's going to be a lot of card draw. I know that may seem like overkill, but especially if that's going to put us below. We've got Chemist's Insight to draw some cards, so I'm actually okay with this. So let's go Anguished Unmaking, because that card draw in green is very good. So anything else, pass the turn to our opponent. Playing against Vorinclex. Trample and Haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice of those on that player or permanent instead. Then if an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or a player, they put half of those, each of those counters rounded down. Our opponent does go for the clue token crack, and that is another land. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are looking at Vorinclex coming down pretty soon. So we got to watch out for that. So let's go for Prismatic Vista. And I think at this point, we've got Teferi's Protection. I think we just try to get some movement on our side of the battlefield. So let's end up getting Raffine down. Yeah, I'm cool with that. So let's go for Raffine. That's going to be tap down for white. We have Raffine, and then anything else, we will pass the turn over to our opponent. So we are looking at Vorinclex. We do have Chemist's Insight. That's going to allow us to go for some card draw, but also we do have an attack from Raffine that's going to allow us to get in on a little bit extra card draw too. So we'll see if we can find some answer. The other good thing is that our opponent is down to 4 cards in the hand, and if we can get to a point where we rip into a board wipe, if they kind of extend into Vorinclex and get a few more stuff out there, we'll hopefully be able to deal with it. But thankfully, one of the nice things is that with Nissa out there, we can start swinging Raffine at Nissa if we want to. So we'll see exactly what's happening. And it looks like our opponent's tapping down for 6, so that will end up being Vorinclex. Let's go and crack Prismatic Vista. And at this point, we only have 1 white source, so we're going to go and grab a Plains, have that come down, and that's going to be Vorinclex. And unfortunately, our opponent's probably thinking we've got Path to Exile mana, but we do not. So that's not going to get anything done. So let's see if they want to swing in or not. So we've got a 6/6 coming across. That will end up dropping us down to 28. And then we'll see what we can draw into. So we've got Chemist's Insight. We do have a Rafine trigger, Connive for 1. And but let's see what's happening. All right, so we draw into Sword of the Animus, which we can do that, but with the Vorinclex and Nissa, that does not. So that'll end up being 3. That'll almost actually get rid of Nissa, and that'll be us just almost taking off the entire turn just to get a land on the battlefield, which is crazier things have happened. And I think actually I'm okay with that. I mean, we don't have any action to stop Vorinclex. At least this kind of buffs us up to where we can get rid of Nissa. Yeah, I kind of like this play. All right, so we're going to get in onto Rafine. Let's go ahead and push in. Swinging in at Nissa, we're going to get the Connive trigger. And let's go ahead and put Rafine's trigger on the stack first, and then we have Sword of the Animus. That way we don't draw into that same land. Let's go and grab ourselves. We do only have 2 blue sources, and we do have Urborg, so we're actually good to go. So let's go and grab another blue source, because that's a little bit more important than a white source. And then Chromatic Lantern and Chemist's Insight. So we'll actually go ahead and drop Chromatic Lantern. So that's going to be, there we go. All right, so we're going to end up knocking down Nissa down to 2. and then anything else pass the turn to our opponent. So as far as next turn goes, we've got 5 lands. We're at least looking at dumping out Thief of Sanity and Skycat Sovereign. And if we can set up a board wipe, potentially, if we can get into the mana, what might end up happening is we can Teferi's Protection in response to a board wipe, and that'll get rid of Vorinclex and Dryad Arbor. But it would also be nice if we can get rid of Nissa too. So we'll see what they end up rolling out. So this is going to be Frostfang. All attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Then whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, draw a card. So they've got themselves set up for some pretty good card advantage. And that's going to be 6, and I'm probably seeing Dryad Arbor swinging across. That way we can get some card draw. So, alright, so we got Vorinclex swinging across. It's going to drop us down to 21. That'll be 12 total commander damage. And then we're looking at a 4/8 Frostfang over there. And that's Fabled Passage. Okay, so let's see what else. It's going to be Lana War Elves, Fabled Passage, and Prismatic Vista. Yeah, so at this point, with this kind of deploying out there, we are hopefully running into a board wipe at some point. So, and before we dump out, let's go and swing in. Let's get Raffine swinging in. And I guess, do we want to try to keep swinging in at Nissa? That's going to be -7. We do have to end up watching out for that -7. They're looking at 1. I think what we end up doing... Yeah, I think we're okay with swinging at Nissa still. Alright, so we're going to go and swing in. We're going to get the Raffine trigger, and then... And unfortunately, I just now realized that the Raffine trigger is not triggering because of Vorinclex. I was like, why did we not get that counter earlier? I realize now. So let's go and drop Glen Alindra, actually, because I want to start making a few more extra land drops. So let's grab our land out of the library. Let's go and grab ourselves an island. Have that come into play. So we're going to end up knocking 2 onto Nissa, knock it back down to 2. And then we can deploy out Teferi's Protection next turn, but I'd kind of like to get a few more flyers out there. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do have 6 total mana available. Let's go ahead and drop in Flooded Strand. Let's drop in Skycat. And then let's go for Thief of Sanity. Because now we're going to be starting to dig just a little bit deeper with our Raffine triggers. And then anything else, we will pass the turn over to our opponent. So with Skycat Sovereign, it gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with flying. And it also does have the mana dump ability to where we can just dump a few more creatures onto the battlefield. Some 1/1 white cat bird creature tokens with flying. So there we go. So that's kind of what we're doing with this deck. In fact, if you haven't seen this video, this is basically just Esper Flyers, or if you haven't seen this commander, this is Esper Flyers with using just kind of the pseudo-tribal lords, stuff like Skycat Sovereign. It doesn't really buff our entire board, but we do have Imperium Eagle in here, which is going to give all of our creatures with flying. We got Doubling Season coming down. But basically what Skycat does is, or with the Eagle, it gives all of our creatures with flying +1/+1. So that's another way that we can, you know, kind of end up with these utility flying creatures. You know, it's not like we're building an elf tribal deck to where we just have so much overlapping synergy. But there's a lot of times to where if we just get down a really nice assortment of flying creatures, sometimes just having that nice little tribal lord effect or different flying bonuses, they really do help out. So let's make sure that we're not going to be dead. That's going to be 12, that's going to be 15, and then that will be 16. So we do survive, and we're going to go and let this go on through. So that's going to drop us down to 5, and that will be 20 total commander damage. So that's going to be Sword of Truth and Justice. It's going to be a lot of card draw. And what we're trying to do next turn, I guess, is kind of set up some potential, maybe setting up a Teferi's Protection. We are in a pretty rough spot because we are looking at exactly 20 total commander damage with Vorinclex out there. So hopefully we can run it, because we are at the spot now to where we can set up a board wipe and hopefully Teferi's Protection in response to that. And if you do hear some meowing, that is my production assistant Dorothy. She's worried that we're going to lose the game. Oh, Scavenging Ooze, yucky. But yeah, she's worried that we're going to lose the game. All right, so it's going to be Scavenging Ooze, and why would they even make alternative art for that? Anyways, let's go ahead and crack Flooded Strand. That's wasted magic art. And yeah, I guess we can just crack it, because that way it's not a swamp. We're at 4 life anyway, so it's not really going to matter. So I guess what we end up grabbing on that, let's go and grab another white source. Let's grab Hollowed Fountain. Let's have the Hollowed Fountain come into play tap. Not going to pay 2 on that one. And we got some swing in for next turn. I think what we might end up doing... Alright, so we run into Scalding Tarn. So we are looking at a -7 from Nissa. And there's still land. So yeah, I think we're going to get some movement in on Nissa. Let's make the land drop with Scalding Tarn. Let's go ahead and push in. Yeah, we're going to send the entire crew, so that's going to be 3. So we'll connive for 1, that'll drop them down to 5. And then that'll be 6, and that'll knock Nissa down. I think we're okay with that. All right, so let's swing in. Let's go to the attack step. Let's go and push in with Rafine, because we at least got one more turn. So we're going to swing in at Nissa, and then with Thief of Sanity, we're going to swing in at... I guess let's just go and swing in at Nissa just to get it all taken care of. I like that. All right, so we're going to all swing in at Nissa, get the entire crew swinging in. We're going to get the triggers onto Raffine, and we're going to get the Sword of the Animist. I know we're getting a little bit low on these lands, or we should be at some point. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves a Plains, have that come into play. That's going to be Connive for 3. All right, ooh, so we do run into Toxic Deluge, but unfortunately with us at 4 life total, that's not going to get it done. All right, so let's go ahead and discard Talisman of Dominance, and we're going to go ahead and discard... I do like Path to Exile to grab Vorinclex in response to that, so let's go ahead, and we're going to miss out on the counter, but we're okay. So we're going to get rid of a Watery Grave, and then we do have to get rid, and actually, yeah, Toxic Deluge is not really going to do much, so we're going to get rid of those. We at least get one more counter onto Raffine, and we've got a Teferi's Protection with the Chemist's Insight that we can cash in, so I think we're good with that. So let's see what that is. Drop them down to 2. And did we click? I guess maybe I misclicked on Thief of Sanity, so that's a little bit of a bummer. All right, so let's see what we draw into. Let's go ahead and exile Sylvan Library, which we can cast if we want to. So that's going to be Teferi's Protection 1, 2, 3. We get down for 2. All right, that will end up cutting us off of Chemist's Insight and Path to Exile. So let's just do this. Let's just go and pass the turn. And with Thief of Sanity, yeah, I guess we... yeah, I accidentally misclicked on Nissa, so that's a little bit of a bummer. So we did get their life total down. I was hoping I got Nissa taken care of, but it looks like we did not. So, and let's see what they're tapping at for. It's going to be Scavenging Ooze. They're going to get rid of Glenalindra. It's going to be a little bit of card advance, or excuse me, some life gain up to 43. And then they're going to grab another card out of the graveyard. Okay, so we can do this during our upkeep. And so that's going to be 3 damage off the Mana Crypt trigger. Let's see if they get any sort of... something directed at us, if that makes sense. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, okay. And that's going to be Ulamog. And so with Ulamog, destroy target. Whenever you cast this spell, destroy target permanent. So let's see if they're going to end up going for this. It's going to be Incubation Druid. And let's go and go for... let's go Chemist's Insight. 1, 2, 3. And since they did not immediately go for Ulamog, we're just going to go ahead and just go for Teferi's Protection and just kind of bounce out for the game, for at least for this turn. So let's go Teferi's Protection, and then we'll tap down for white, and I think that'll be good. So they're going to be able to just kind of do some stuff for the turn. There's nothing else that we can do, and oh yeah, excuse me, our graveyard's still there. So if they want to pick apart a graveyard, they certainly can. But that's going to at least fog us out for a turn, and we'll let them kind of go through here. They're going to end up with a ton of card draw. So we'll see what we can end up doing about this. But yeah, you know, even if we don't end up closing this game out, this is pretty much what we're trying to do with Raffine, is get down Raffine, get those counters going, and get down some just kind of mid-range threats and start swinging in. Unfortunately, with Vorinclex, I got off to a very good start, and that we could have taken care of Nissa, but that was, I guess I misclicked on sending Thief of Sanity in. But you can see just kind of getting this nice assortment of flying creatures out there. And especially if we get down Archfiend, you know, it's really not going to do much on a board of 16/16s right now. But let's say next turn we get down Archfiend, we swing for 3. That's going to be a -1 counter on each of our creatures. And actually, I don't know how that... yeah, so actually with Archfiend, I think that would just actually end up negating with Vorinclex out there. So let's say we're not playing against Vorinclex. Even something like having Archfiend this turn, so we get down Archfiend next turn, that allows us to connive, and we're almost just going to be just wiping their entire board out. But they've got the counters going, so that does not stop it. But if you're playing against something not Vorinclex or not, uh-oh, it's going to be Regal Forest. Even if we do end up ripping it into a board wipe, it's not going to do much because we've got some good card draw going. So we'll see what else they've got for the turn. In fact, we'll go and let them just kind of dump all their stuff out and see what we draw into for next turn. And they did get down Gurg Unleashed, which is already at the -7. So at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a creature card. So it looks like Vorinclex is probably going to get in on this one. Even if we do hit that board wipe, we're not going to be able to stop much on this one. So okay, so we do. we get back to our turn. Let's see what we draw into, and we'll see what we connive into. All right, so we run into another land, which is not the best. And so let's go ahead and at this point, we're just going to swing in to see what we can connive into, and maybe we draw into with something with Thief of Sanity. So we're going to, all of these are going to swing in at our opponent, because nothing matters at this point. So let's go and dump the +1 counters onto Raffine. Let's grab Sword of the Animus trigger. Let's go and grab, yes, we'll definitely use that ability. Let's grab ourselves a Swamp that enters the battlefield. We're going to connive for 3, which we're hoping to run into something like Rift or Damnation. We still have Jumpstart, Chemist's Insight out of the graveyard. So let's go and discard Thrain Dynamo, Kanji, and then we'll get rid of Murderous Rider because we're at 4 and not much is going to happen. So, all right, so we're swinging in. That's going to be 4, and let's get that done. So really at this point, we're just looking at Cyclonic Rift, but even if we do run into Cyclonic Rift, we're like, I don't know if that's going to do much. And that's going to be Apex Altosaur. Fights target creature you don't control, so we're going to click OK. And I guess we just grab Soul Ring, because we're not going to be able to do much outside of that. Go to our main phase. Let's go for the Chemist's Insight, because even if we do hit something off of Chemist's Insight, it ain't going to do much, just because we're getting down so low. So let's go and discard Isolated Chapel. So that's going to be a +1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra, which is going to be 2 because of Vorinclex, or actually 4 because of Doubling Season. And then Watcher of Spears, and then Impulse. So, good game to our opponent. They're going to be able to get on this one. We'll save them some clicks and swing in with a bunch of creatures. But yeah, they're going to get it on this one. So, I am happy with what we got developed out there. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the board control going. Vorinclex swinging down with the hasty option, limiting us on the Raffine connive triggers. That definitely slowed our game plan, and they're able to really kind of swarm the board before we could take advantage of a board wipe. So, we did kind of go pretty quick with Anguish Unmaking on the clue token, but you know, if they don't have lands, maybe we kind of jam them up getting to that 6 mana for Vorinclex. I kind of like that line of play, because if we don't, they just keep getting clue tokens, they keep getting card draw. But unfortunately, they're able to get to Vorinclex really quick, and we saw what happened. So, but anyway, that's how Magic goes sometimes. And if you enjoyed the video, hey, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.